Britons, yeah. Now we told us we were strangers in a land we called our own. Caucasians who are Hebrew knew we built this stone by stone. From the ancient streets of London to the towns they claim to know, our history runs deeper like the river's steady flow. We built this land, yeah, from the ground up to the sky. Our roots run deep, yeah, and our spirits never die. These losers are full of lies, trying to steal our pride. But we know the truth, we're the builders of this tide. They say we're new arrivals, just got here yesterday. But our ancestors laid these bricks, who's the immigrant, you say? From Africa to Albion, we crossed the endless seas. Carried our culture and its secret, we taught our seas. Yeah, from the ground up to the sky, our roots run deep. Yeah, and our spirits never die. These losers are full of lies, trying to steal our pride. But we know the truth, we're the builders of this life. Your pasty ways lead you to make laws to push us out. We are the foundational Black Britons who built this damn house. In every brick, in every street, our legacy will stand. We are the people who built this goddamn land. This land to be raised. From the ground up to the sky, from the ground up to the sky, our roots run deep, yeah, 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 yeah. And our spirits never die, and our spirits never die. These losers are full of lies, try to steal our pride. But we know the truth, we're the builders of this tide. We are the foundational Black Britons. We are the foundational Black Britons. We are the foundational Black Britons. But we know the truth, we're the builders of this tide. Now, you need to leave. Ooh, 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 you need to leave. Now, you need to leave.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday, and I'm so happy y'all are patient with me. One of these days, I'm gonna be like super on time. I mean, I'm gonna be so on time. Y'all gonna be like, damn, Eve was early tonight, right? And also, I'm gonna do my best to watch my language, as I found that we have some minis in the audience in general, not mine, because I think they're in the bed, but some of y'all's minis do listen, and I want to make this as palatable as possible, understanding that this conversation does take place at night at a time where maybe they shouldn't be listening, but run your house how you run your house. You know, your sink, your dishes. I don't have to clean any of them. So, but as a courtesy, and just because I know better, I'm going to try to do better, right? Happy Friday. What's going on, Spirit Wonder? What's going on, All the Way Free? And if you're listening recorded, welcome back. I'm Eve. Well, if you didn't know me, I'm Eve. If you did know me, welcome back. Tonight, Kamala's America. Kamala's America. I don't know how you say her name. I don't know if it matters or not. You know, respect is one of those things that we were taught you have to give unconditionally based on someone's age and years that they've been here. I've always pushed back against that since I was a child. You can ask my parents. You can ask the elders in my family. I've had an issue. I want to say that even on my progress report cards way back when, it said something along the lines of insubordination, issues with authority, and talks a lot. It's so strange because I don't think I talk a lot as much as I know that I can fill the space with words. But did it matter? I would hate to lull you to sleep when I need you to be energized. I need you to be fueled. I need you to be ready to move. And if I've put you to sleep with my voice, that's like the opposite effect of what I'm trying to do. Not to belittle anybody who's who likes my voice and says that it's nice and comforting and soothing and stuff, I absolutely need you to get past that. I need you to get into a spot where my voice makes you uncomfortable. Just think like if I was like your woman and I was nagging about you doing something that you were supposed to have done that I never asked you to do because you're supposed to be a mind reader, but you're not. And since you're not, well, you're going to get this nag. That's one of those itches you can't scratch because you can't reach it because it's not there. It's like having missing limb syndrome where you're trying to scratch something that's not there anymore because you're used to it being there. And oh no, I'm sorry, not missing limbs, missing limb. It's called phantom limb, not missing limb. Anyway, without further ado, I started with our brother, our homie Yoshi Mod is a musical genius to me. Maybe he's not your cup of tea, but for me and my family, our minis, we love the messaging. We love the imagery. Even though he's using AI for some of this stuff, I find that even AI gets it. I mean, to the point where I can just type in Kamala Harris, the first Indian vice president of America, and it will put a red dot on her head. It will be in Kamala's likeness. Have y'all ever seen her with a red dot? Because I've never seen her with an actual red dot on her head, but AI will do it for you. They'll do it for you. You just got to give it the right input. You got to have the math right on one side of the formula to come out with the equation, so that the math maths. So 20 million immigrants and counting. Later, I find that Kamala's America is very strange land. It's a very strange time. We're dealing with very inconsistent, consistently hypocritical people with consistently hypocritical ideologies and ways of life, ways of doing things. And while on one hand, people will say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, on the other hand, I'm finding that some of these older dogs got a little bit more bite than some of y'all younger dogs, and I don't know what that's about. I really don't. Y'all have heard me out of my mouth say that if you can't run a mile, you should not be at the front of the pack. You are in the way. If you can't run a mile without getting winded, you don't need to be telling anybody what to do. But then some of you will take that message and say, well, Eve said all you got to do is be fit to lead. Ha! Get it? Be fit to lead. Are you fit to lead? I mean, in 2024, we are having to choose between the Donald and the dummy. And maybe they're both dummies. I don't know. But y'all are trying to scare us one way or another. And I just find that in all of my learning, well, black is ours in America. But black is a word that they've chosen to denigrate. They've given it a definition that doesn't equate. The math ain't mathin' when it comes to how people look at black. I mean, even when you're in grade school and your teacher says, we're going to do a word association game. And maybe you didn't do it in grade school. Some of y'all who see a shrink, y'all have done this with your counselor or your psychologist, psychiatrist, whoever is giving you the things that you need to exist on your day to day. You've done word association games and they say peanut butter and you say jelly, and they say peas and you say carrots. Maybe you don't. They say black and you say death, or you say void, or you say something negative. They say white and you say angel or spirit or life, right? It's so strange how we can associate words with a feeling and then it has nothing to do with the word and everything to do with the social construct, the social ideas of the word, not the actual definition. And I know some of y'all mosey over here from people who espouse themselves to be the authority on things. And y'all know I'm just Eve. I'm not out here trying to tell y'all what to do. I'm not trying to tell you how to think. I'm really not trying to instruct you as much as I just want to make sure that we're all having the same conversation. Inside of our disagreements as a people, whether it be as Black people or as Americans, a lot of the disagreements come from a lack of understanding. The communication is missing. The math ain't mathing with the words. And it's because sometimes we're using how we feel versus what it is. So, while you might be listening to someone who is the authority on things, that's not me. I might have to do
Bucket up.
right. I might have to look some things up just to make sure that we are all on the same page about some things. So, Black, is that a word that you've identified as a negative word? Because I find that students who have parents who care about themselves, they say it loud that they're Black and they're proud, right? Uh, Students who have parents who don't know anything about themselves might say that Black is a crayon color. Well, once you do some reading, you find that Black is an identifier, but it was a self identifier. This social construct of race, this concept that if you ain't white, you're, well, if you ain't white, you ain't white, right? But nobody's white. Even white people aren't white. So what are we doing? And maybe the darkest people on the planet are not Black, but I think they more Black than the whitest white person is white, because I guess the whitest white person would have to be like an albino. And then, are you an albino? Like a white albino, I guess it just hits a little bit different because they're already lacking in melanin. And let me not segue as much as I'm just trying to make a full point about the words. Tonight, we're going to have a conversation about what things mean and how they were used, because while we are delineating, yes, Black America is, and I repeat slowly, Black America is the only modern culture, civilization that is identifying as Black. However, in antiquity, back in the day, in the past, we were not the only people who classified themselves as Black. And I'm not saying we got to jump all the way back to Kemet to do it. No, I mean, that's like hundreds and thousands of years ago. We really only have to start talking to our parents, talking to our grandparents, talking to our great grandparents if they're around. But sometimes we lose the opportunity to have these conversations. So hopefully your family took good notes. Hopefully you got that big mama in your family who has the Bible or something, photo album with all the obituaries and all the birth announcements and all the information, so that you can do your own research, because they're not trying. I didn't mean 100,000s. I'm not the Donald, but I do mean like hundreds, if not thousands, all the way free. Sheesh. But yes, for hundreds of years, thousands of years, let's say that the Gregorian calendar that we use mushes time together in a way that white people have made math not math. 2 plus 2 does not equal 4 when the year is 2024. But on other parts of the planet, the year is not 2024. So yes, hundreds or thousands. But anyway, I started with Yoshimod because this song, FBB Liberation, it kind of puts us back into an antiquated thought, a time of not flat Black, but brilliant. Brilliant first. It is the brilliance of the Black people that allowed us to move about the world and own it. If you believe in the Bible, God gave Adam the authority over the living things. That's all of it, right? So then you get to name everything. 2024, we are in a naming era. We didn't start now, but For the past, what, 2 to 5 years, Black America has been very consistent about not wanting to be identifiable with other people who have melanin. We need to be very specifically talked about. We need to be very specifically addressed. It needs to be about us. A rising tide can't lift a boat with a hole in it. It's impossible. So, for us to be as smart as we are, as intelligent as we are, you can't expect us to look at this gaping hole in the boat and see the tide coming in and not panic. When Britain was black, y'all have to consider the fact that the dominant society lied to you about your origin. Wherever you are on the planet, if you're listening to me, then you're in a civilized nation. Maybe still a shithole, but that's not my words. Those are Trump's words. But be that as it may, if there is a civilization there, if there are building structures, if there's any sort of government, you can thank the melanated people of the past for it. Now, the dominant, unspicy, unseasoned, unmelanated society would like you to think that you come from the trees and the woods and the bush, and there was no civilization with you, and they had to teach you how to be a person. But you already learned that the Moors had to teach people how to bathe. So y'all are gonna have to use this unlearning that you did in your woke phase, right? Because some of y'all are past that now, right? We're not woke anymore, Eve. This just is. It's just common sense. Well, common sense ain't common when I have to tell someone that civilization across the world on this planet started with a melanated people and then got invaded, colonized, conquered, taken, stolen, raped off of, or murdered away from, genocided, if you will, by people who don't care about the same things. And some of them had melanin. It's it's almost like we've had these four stories of a Holocaust and then an actual Holocaust and then they had a Holocaust, and then now do we want to continue to repeat the past? The blacks in Britain, while a lot of them, a lot of the melanated people in Britain are actually immigrants. We're not going to mince words here. There are a lot of foundational Black Brits, people who were there from colonization, people who are from here. The transatlantic slave trade, they tried to tell you that all these millions of Africans came over here on boats manned by white people who didn't know how to wash their ass. I'm sorry. But they didn't. If we had to teach them about soap and alcohol, they didn't know how to wash their butt cheeks. And that's kind of insane that you're telling me that these people who didn't understand hygiene would stack themselves on a boat and then not succumb to the treachery of the sea, scurvy, Lyme disease. I mean, we all know that they was eating each other, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the fact that they actually made it with all the nasty germs that they were all sharing for the long boat ride. We have to unlearn some of this stuff. Occam's razor. I think I'm saying that right. Occam's razor. Let me look it up. Yeah, Occam's razor. You got to use the option that you don't have to make so many guesses about. And when you find that your family hasn't moved from the state that you've been in for hundreds of years, I'm talking you're finding that prior to 1776, you've got people in the same state that you've been in, that your family's been in. Okay, so if you were here prior to the start of the United States, then how long were you here before that? And if you're able to, some of you guys are finding your paperwork from before that. It gets very tricky because a lot of this stuff isn't around anymore. From burning down libraries and schools and databases to people like Dr. William Plecker out of Virginia, who was straight paper genociding us off of our land. just taking a group of people and saying, all right, you're not native this tribe anymore, you're black. So now we've got the race as a social construct, social concept. And we've kind of always identified by our geopolitical state. Because why wouldn't you? Where you live, how that area handles its resources, tangibles, and benefits, that matters. And then when people come to the place that you've been residing, the place that you've established, the place that you've made home, and they want to change things, well, in the past, that used to be fighting words. Now we're supposed to eat it. Yes, this has been the longest introduction because Yoshimad, he puts me in an artistic mindset. And I love this song, FBB Liberation, because in a time where we're delineating, it is my belief that if all of the melanated people across the planet just solidified their square, stood their ground and made their area of the world better, we would be better off. It would literally look like all the melanated people who have a grievance towards these colonization type governments. We would be saying, cut the check in unison, where we are, to the appropriate parties. It wouldn't be all this, well, I'm here now, so your government has to pay me. No, you would be where you're supposed to be, and that government would be paying you. All the way free. It's crazy that you say that. Let me share it just in case y'all can't see it. Black American people and culture is supposed to be Uncle Luke types, degenerates, whose family can only make it through OnlyFans. F that is absolutely right, because this entire tonight's conversation is brought to you by the letter L for loser, or it could be Luke. I don't know. How about lost? Kamala is lost. This man named
It's a false choice
lost.
to say you either believe in the Second Amendment or you want to take everyone's guns away. Mm-hmm. That's how I think about gun safety laws. Assault weapons ban. So here's how I think about it. The assault weapon was designed to kill a lot of human beings quickly. Mm-hmm. That is its whole purpose for being.
And it's like her whole purpose of being is to explain things that we already know. I think every time this woman is on the mic, she just puts something either into a very weird context where we're like, what are you talking about? Or it's something that everybody knows. But the question is, what are you going to do about it? Not, can you put this in your own words? I feel like when I was teaching 8th grade, I would tell my students, all right, write a gist in 13 words or less. It's almost like a game at this point. Can you tell us what this is about in the fewest amount of words? But not only does she not get the gist right, but she just takes all of this time to explain something that we already know. This interview that Luke highlighted, this snippet of this interview, it's more of Kamala's America. We are going to be, not going to be, they're already here. Look at how comfortable, not my uncle, Luther, is sitting with the Vice President of America. Look at how uncomfortable she looks, or maybe she's comfortable. I don't know. I guess she's given Hunchback of Notre Dame in this one shot, so I'll be fair. She's got a lot worse imagery out there, but it's not too bad. But Luke selected this. When you highlight something and you're like, yes, this is what I want people to see, and then it's this, are we? See, I was about to mess it up. I wasn't born yesterday, and neither were y'all. If you're of voting age, you were not born yesterday. And if you're like Luke, you were born a long time ago, and you're very mad that your parents didn't birth you in one of the countries that they're from.
And there is no room for that on the streets of a civil society. It is a weapon of war.
No question about it. No question about it.
The leading cause of death of young Black men in America is gun violence, and literally greater than the next 9 combined.
Okay, so I believe, remember, well, actually, maybe you don't remember. Maybe you're new here. To me, if you lead something with I believe, it means that there's zero evidence to support how you feel. It's just something you feel strongly about. And there might be evidence to support it, but you just aren't there yet. You're just going off of how things feel. And to me, that's a more honest conversation than to just be out here saying that things are facts, or, it is what it is, or it's so black and white. As much as I really would like it to get back to just black and white, all these shades of brown are confusing me. But as much as they're confusing me, they are killing some of y'all. I mean, literally, some of y'all are not going to make it to tomorrow because of the consequences of your actions. And peace, Russell. Yeah, I didn't see you this week on Wednesday because I wasn't live on Wednesday, but welcome. Kamala is comfortable with Blacks who exude a subservient slave mentality. Absolutely. Let me throw that on the screen. Look, that's a heck of a point. She gets very open when she feels like she's going to dominate the conversation. She did not look like this when she was on the Oprah Winfrey poop show. See, I did it. I didn't say the other word. Anyway, she should have felt very comfortable when she was on Oprah. I mean, Oprah literally gave her every single chance to dunk it on a kiddie court that you could have. And then you could see Oprah's face like, how did you miss the shot? You're wide open. You're taller than the basket. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I think maybe the analogy I was using is that Shaquille O'Neal had Kamala on his shoulders, took her all the way up to the hoop, and she missed it multiple times. But it's because she, well, like Russell said, she actually wasn't feeling very comfortable with Oprah. I think Oprah might give off a little bit more power than Kamala was ready for. And because the celebrities in the audience weren't actually there, it's only so much that the peasants and the lay people and the people who are going to be voting for Kamala, it's only so much they can do to buffer. But in this interview that Luke, not my uncle, clipped, you see it, that's his insignia in the top right, Luke show. He clipped this for you. He's interviewing her. Granted, it's a softball interview, but it is still an interview, and we have to look at it for what it's worth. She says something that needs to be questioned. Does he question it?
Violence. And literally greater than Black men in America is gun violence.
No question about it.
The leading cause of death of young Black men in America is gun violence. And literally greater than the next 9 combined. So of the variety of health or accident, the accidents that cause death for young Black men, the gun violence is greater than all of the next 9 combined.
Wow. The data shows that our kids are getting killed in the daytime. You have education. So when the standardized testing, everybody just focus on the test. So what ends up happening is now the test is connected to the grade point average of the school. So in order for the school to stay open, you have to be at least a C or B school, because a lot of the charter schools have taken a lot of kids out of the public schools.
Yeah. It's a false choice.
It is a false choice. Look, Luke was just looking like, I've been hearing y'all on X, and y'all was saying something about that school to prison pipeline system, right? And he couldn't even get that right. They both, for this minute and 42 seconds, I think it's 1 minute and 42 seconds. I'm sorry, 1 minute and 28 seconds. They stumble over their words, and this was the best that he had as a snippet for you're gonna want to watch more if you watch this. And I couldn't wait to turn this off as much as I feel like I have to watch this stuff. I'm talking so much about what's not happening. Maybe one of these days they glitch in our benefit. I would hate to miss it. But in this interview that they thought was, the nail in the coffin for the Donalds election campaigning, she says that gun violence is the number one death of Black men in America. Luke, in all of his intelligentsia, he doesn't say who is killing them. He doesn't say is it Black on Black violence. He doesn't say is it Scooter the shooter. He doesn't say is it police. Is it Mexicans? Is it Russians? Is it bots? He doesn't ask any questions. Maybe, just maybe, given the benefit of the doubt, maybe they just clipped it out of this snippet. Like you really have to go watch the interview to get more information because Luke gave her the hardball questions. He didn't hold anything back. I didn't see that in this little advertising display. This display of unwavering and uncompromising support. But they both look like they're doing the same thing for each other. Luke, who hasn't had a hit in who knows how long, and for your most famous hit to be a song called Doo Doo Brown. Why are people listening to you with regards to politics? Also, the fact that you are a melanated individual who, if Akata is going to be a word for anybody, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to say, if your parents aren't from here and you are a naturalized born American citizen, then you might be Akata. Like that lost, wandering, defining moment that really hurts a lot of y'all's feelings, a lot of our feelings. It doesn't really hurt my feelings. The same way nigger doesn't hurt my feelings. Fuck you, pay me. Okay, that's as bad as I'm gonna say. But anyway, I don't care about Akata. I feel like words have meanings, and if we use them appropriately, people shouldn't be mad. If I see a midget walking down the street, they shouldn't be mad that I said, hey, there's a midget walking down the street, as much as maybe they would just be mad that I was singling them out. Literally, their midget status singles them out. They don't need me to say, hey, look at that midget across the street. As much as if my children are at the playground and there's a midget playing on the playground, I need to know that there is a midget, a little adult person. But how do children articulate that as children? No, I think that as parents, we're allowed to do some programming. So, simple is best. Let's not mince word. Let's not be mean, but, people gonna feel how they feel, right? And again, if there's a midget playing on the playground, dressed up like a child, I need to know because, maybe Baba needs to go out there and do some straightening because it's a midget and not a child, right? Okay, anyway, moving on. Luke did not deliver any type of anything as much as he just really wanted y'all and us to see that he was able to get Kamala on his platform. Congratulations, Luke. You got Kamala on your platform. Now you are still a melanated person whose parents are not from America, who was born in America. So you might be feeling a little lost. You might feel like you have no home. But that does not mean that you get to put your Black American blanket on and identify as us. You are not us. This is what I find. I find that a lot of people who look like us, a lot of people who've had to deal with the same things that we've dealt with, they feel entitled to our everything because they've had to suffer the same consequences being Black in America, waking up with a target on your back, not being safe in your home. They can get you anywhere. Luke, I'm sorry your parents didn't birth you in one of their home countries, but that's a self-inflicted wound. You need to take that up with your mommy or your daddy. But y'all want to say that we've got mommy and daddy issues. No, all of these issues that melanated people are experiencing, it's all a result of racism, white supremacy, and its impact on melanated societies across the world. But how we choose to deal with it, well, there's the delineation. American Blacks have always fought. We fought so much that they've given us areas that they've taken over just on some, I don't want to deal with the mosquitoes and the caimans. So yeah, let them niggas have that plot of land in the middle of the water here, because we don't want those problems. Or we don't know the land, and instead of get lost and having to deal with the wilderness and survival because the people in the area don't like us, let them have it. Virginia, South Carolina, it's happened a few different times, but we're a people who've been removed from our story. People like Luke and Kamala get to be born here of parents who are not from here and say that they speak for us. I call foul on the play. I say that there needs to be a penalty. And really, it's treasonous. But maybe we'll get to that in a little bit. Anti-Black racism is the number one cause of Black men's death across the board. And I would say that, Russell, it's not just gun violence like Kamala's trying to pass off. But even if that is the lie she wants to spin, bring the appropriate data. There is no such thing as Black on Black crime because all communities harm the communities that they live in. Now, what's about to start happening is you're going to see a lot of brown on Black crime that they're going to try to classify as Black on Black crime. And it's going to be up to us to make sure that we are paying attention to what's happening. Speaking of, if you guys saw what happened with, what's that football player's name? His name is Tyreek Hill. I think it's his last name. He's featured in the thumbnail. He's a football player. He plays for the Dolphins. And when I was looking him up to talk about him tonight, right, because he was detained, it just brought up more of the same. There are police offices across the country that have wanted signs up in different languages. And that really bothers me, because if it's not in English, then how is this person going to keep the community who speaks English safe? Unless we're just succumbing to the fact that some of these communities don't speak English. And if that's where we are, then what is America? I mean, I thought America was English speaking. We got apple pie. Some of y'all like hot dogs. We got baseball and foosball. Basketball if you was a nigga. We have a lot, right? But English is our language. It's our primary language. It's the official language of the country. I teach my 3rd and 4th graders that, well, literally, we just had a quiz on it the other day. What is an official language? It is the language that the government does business. Are we moving to a government that does business in a language that's not English? As many for hire and wanted signs that I've seen straight up in Spanish with no English translation, I wonder what's the future of America. I think Kamala's America is going to not include us, but she's not like us. So why would she include us? It's the same argument we had with Obama. Literally, people said that he was Black. He's the first Black president. And look at how cool he is, because he can sing a little bit and he can shoot a jumper with his left hand. And I think he smokes Newports from time to time. Got a Black family with children. And yeah, that's Black. But then he's a whole white African man. How, Sway? How is a white African man the first black president. And then we're going to have a Irish Indian woman as the first black woman president. Y'all are making things very complicated, and it's very simple. Kamala's parents have self-identified themselves. Before Kamala's mom passed, right? Because I think she's gone now. She identified always as an Indian woman. Her dad, who's very much alive, has always identified as an Irish Indian man born in Jamaica. And then y'all, delineation experts, y'all have actually done some deep dives on her family. You found her grandparents. You found one of the servants, or not servants, one of the people who worked for her family on the island, who they got to take a picture and comment that it was her grandma that had died 4 years before Kamala was born. Y'all have been doing the work. It doesn't matter, because 20 million immigrants and counting later, I wonder if we're gearing up for some changes to the Constitution. I've told you guys already that the 1929 Reappropriations Act has had the amount of delegates for the Electoral College stay the same, 435, 535 people. So, and that's based off of the amount of people who are in the state. Every 10 years, the census is done, and the states get to say, all right, we have this many people, we have lost this many people, we've birthed this many people, and everything's kind of stayed the same. In the past 4 years, 20 million immigrants and counting. What are the numbers about to do? The next census is 2030, right? And in 2030, are we going to be looking at states that have a boom of 100 million people? Y'all wanted to get on the Donald so bad about him saying that they're eating the dogs and eating the cats. And really, you should get mad at that producer. Whoever made it loop like that, be mad at that person, because it was very catchy. They're eating the dogs, like the Donald. You got to stop saying trending things, because then people won't want to clip your voice and put it to something that they're going to be able to use against you. And as much as there was that one cat video that I saw where Minneapolis police were, was it Minneapolis or Springfield, where the police were called out and had to call the Humane Society because the cat was in fact deceased. People are more concerned about the wildlife in the area. I mean, I haven't seen pigeons in years, but also I know that a lot of the places that I've lived in the past 20 years have a very bilingual community. I saw a video of some non-English speaking workers in America, and one man had 2 pigeons at the work lunch table. And they must have said something to him, because he kind of put the pigeons under the table, like they told him, hey, you can't do that here. And he didn't throw them away as much as he was like, oh, okay. And then he just kind of tried to hide them. What's going on, Haru Ogun? What a name. Stay on their necks. We got to. The work doesn't stop. Really, look at, let me see if I can get the thumbnail up for you. Here's our thumbnail for tonight. And this is America, where you can be an officer and no habla anglais. Unless it benefits you. Did I tell y'all about my did I tell y'all about traffic court last week, 2 weeks ago? I was in traffic court the other day. Not for me, but I was in there. I was watching. And there was the craziest thing. There were a few people who didn't speak English. There were translators in the court. Fine. Whatever. The cop gets called to testify against a person who needs one of these translators. And come to find out, the cop pulls him over because the man goes up the street in the wrong direction, speeding, and then I guess realizes the error of his ways, because not only does he avoid a few accidents, but he cuts across the median that has grass and trees to get going in the right direction before he, kind of swerves and then gets pulled over by the cop that I just told you was testifying. And do y'all know that that police officer told the judge and the court, anybody who was listening, that the man was speaking good English up until he was asked about the open containers on the floors and seats of the car? When he was asked about the open containers, now the man no speak English, needs a translator. What? And then for what it's worth, you got to give appropriate respect to people like our good sister Taisha Essex, who highlight the inconsistencies of the reporting. If it were a black officer, open containers is not sufficient for your report. But for the officer who took that information to court to try to get a conviction against a person who he told the court and the judge was slurring his words and was swerving and all of these identifiers of being intoxicated, the judge dismissed the case because open containers of what? Open containers of juice? Open containers of Tupperware leftovers? Like what are we talking about? And the officer was not specific. So I guess if it don't fit, you must have quit. But I don't know. I don't know that I've seen that situation happen for a person who spoke English and paid taxes and is supposed to be here and just never got paid the debt that they're owed so that they could leave if they wanted to, So many people don't want us to be here, but then they don't want to actually pay us so that we can choose to leave if we want to. But now they're trying to scare us into the Donald sending us somewhere. If y'all don't stop playing on Harriet Tubman's internet, you are undeportable. If you need to say it with your chest, you could see Sister Yaya on Twitter. She has a very nice shirt, undeportable. And if use a nigga from America, use undeportable. But maybe you need somebody to help you say it with your chest. So you could check her shop out, get you one of them undeportable shirts, and then just wear it until you know who you are. Then you can say it with your chest without having to wear a shirt. In the meantime, in between time, all these people who are not from here, well, I guess they have some straightening to do. Maybe they need to get their affairs in order. Maybe they need to have their paperwork in order. We had to walk around with papers, even if we weren't enslaved, for fear of getting caught up in somebody's greed. And then boom, you was enslaved. Shit, you could run for freedom, run to freedom, get there. And because of fugitive slave laws, they could come get you from an area where there is no slavery. So I'm sorry, y'all are mad that you got to get your paperwork in order? No. But you want to be Black American, steal our identity? Well, if you're stealing our identity, it sounds like you're stealing our story. Sounds like you are accepting your role in this story. And over here, this was a couple hundred years ago, but you just got here yesterday, so you're gonna have to start from the beginning, just like all of us. And all of us had to walk around with papers, even if we were free. Even if we were free. Because, well, you don't want to be caught up. And then, dang, what about the ones of us who had the appropriate paperwork, were free, and still got caught up? What about them? No, you just got here yesterday. It sounds like you should be quiet about all things Black America. You should be appreciative of the sacrifice that allowed you to be here, not in chains. And then, maybe you lend your support in the direction of making sure that we get what's owed to us, because we've always made sure that everybody else eats. Always. To our detriment. Tyreek's arrest, his friends and teammates not being able to intervene, people not speaking English but get to enforce the laws. people who don't even follow the traffic laws getting guns and able to police our communities. All of it is insanity. But then I look at California, where we were all told that this is the state that's going to be doing the things. You know, they got the reparations task force, and everybody needs to look, and we need to pay attention, and we need to follow in their footsteps. And then Gavin Newsom says, well, actually, he didn't say anything, but there was this rumor that he wasn't going to sign the bills, and then the blacks, the black faces in high places over there, they chickened out and they didn't bring the bills to the floor. Since the bills didn't get brought to the floor, they got put in the inactive file to be discussed who knows when. The one bill that did go through, well, Gavin Newsom was able to say, well, y'all are saying that you need this organization to establish who all is eligible and to divvy out these payments of land appropriation. And since there is no agency, we actually can't do this. But, you know, thanks for your effort. I'm going to sign you a little apology. We tried. No, we have to pay attention to these things because they keep telling us that reparations aren't popular, but look at the data. Let's just give them a very big wiggle room. Give them huge wiggle room. Only less than 5% of America agrees with the sexualization of our children. Less than 5% of America. So if less than 5% of America agrees with it, but it is being shoved down our throats on TV and all areas of media in ways that we thought we were safe. Our children, they're in school. How are they being sexualized in school? And then you find out that a teacher has a self-esteem group after school. And in their self-esteem group, well, your daughter now identifies as Billy the Goat. And everybody at school's been calling your daughter Billy the Goat. But because you don't identify her as Billy the Goat, well, she's afraid. And then her fear can be misinterpreted or straight up just mislabeled as abuse. And now you are looking at not having the ability to parent your child who can't drink, can't smoke, can't vote, can't drive, but they're allowed to make decisions, lifelong decisions that are going to impact their day-to-day. Because, you know, if you grow up after you've chopped off all of your pieces and parts, and now you can't go back outside because of self-esteem issues in a debilitating way, well, now you're going to be collecting disability, which isn't that state funded? Doesn't that mean that we're all paying for you to stay home when really you wouldn't be home if your parents didn't let you chop off your pieces and parts and give you hormone therapy that was going to sterilize you, and all of these problems that you're creating as a little baby because your mommy and daddy didn't say no to some shit that didn't make sense. I'm sorry. I'm just angry. It really bothers me. Gavin Newsom, who says that reparations is not popular enough for him to stand behind, has signed so many other laws into being this year. Let's see. Here's a couple. Here's a good one. He required the Office of the Inspector General to review and publicly post a list of banned books in prisons. Assembly Bill 1986. Okay. He empowered the Attorney General to go after hospitals that are out of compliance with anti-bias training. Assembly Bill 2319. Now, this is called California Dignity in Pregnancy and Childbirth Act, and Essentially, what you would think is that this is a bill that is supposed to be protecting women from the inequities that we face during maternity, specifically in the labor and delivery aspect. But then they kind of get to add all these extras in the mix. Let's see if I can share this for y'all. No. Okay. Assembly Bill 3089 by Reggie Jones Sawyer affirms the state's recognition of the harms caused by chattel slavery and calls for the installation of a memorial plaque at the Capitol. Gavin Newsom said, hell yeah, I can definitely do that. But with regards to actually doing anything for the Black Californians or setting a path for Black America, he said, no, actually, we're not doing that. We've got bigger fish to fry, and the bigger fish are making sure that police applications are in Espanol and that children can escape to California if their parents don't agree with their lifestyle choices. That's the America that we're living in. You know, it is my belief that if Kamala wasn't from California, then she would have been on the ticket with Gavin Newsom. But I guess there's some sort of unwritten rule about having two people from the same state on the same ticket. I don't know why. I also haven't read it. This is what y'all keep saying in hushed tone. So I don't know. Tim Walz, essentially Gavin Newsom light. But well, maybe we'll talk about that on a different night. Tonight, I want to bring your attention to one more thing before I finish this conversation. I watched this hearing with former U.S. Border Patrol official Aaron Heike. He was testifying in a cover-up. It's kind of fitting. Earlier this week, we spoke with a whistleblower from the U.S. Marshals. Today, I'm about to show you a whistleblower from the Border Patrol. But look, y'all, when I heard this, I was sick to my stomach. I guess I wasn't about to Earl as much as I just am kind of fed up. I don't know what emotion to give to this because it seems like it doesn't matter. It might be too late for us. I don't know. You be the judge. Here we go.
Offices in the United States and in foreign countries, where he occupied various supervisory positions. His last assignment before retiring was as the head of the DEA office in Nogales. I thank all our witnesses for being here today, and I now recognize Mr. Heike for 5 minutes to summarize his opening statement.
Mr. Chairman, distinguished members, thank you for this opportunity. The only true consequence we have to slow down and discourage people from coming into the United States illegally is sending them back to their country of origin. Throughout the first 3+ years of this administration, I saw a steady decrease in the countries we could send people back to. For the first time in my 25 years and under 5 different administrations, whether through neglect or on purpose, I saw a large-scale lapse in our ability to return people to their country of origin. The inability to send people home meant that most people being arrested for illegal entry would either have to be detained or released. The current administration, however, from day one, made a point of decreasing the amount of detention space available nationwide. Immigration and Customs Enforcement's funding for detention has steadily been cut and private detention eliminated. The fact that so many illegal aliens are being released into the United States spread worldwide very quickly. As this happened, the numbers the Border Patrol encountered illegally crossing the border increased exponentially. The impact to me and my agents were significant. Sectors were ordered to take in and process all the illegal aliens encountered on the border. The Border Patrol saw groups of hundreds and thousands coming into the United States and turning themselves in. These numbers pulled 80, 90, sometimes 100% of the agents on duty away from the border. Border Patrol zones across Texas, Arizona, and California had no agent presence for weeks and months at a time.
Weeks and months at a time. Border Patrol agents are not at the border for weeks and months at a time. Can you imagine the malarkey, the crazy, but maybe it's not so crazy. All I hear is that since these people have been in office, there have been a bunch of fires that need to get put out, and there aren't enough agents. And then when they have agents, they're called to do other things. Kamala wants to hire more agents, but not to patrol the border, not to secure the border, but to process applications. She's very much aware, their camp is very much aware that we've been paying attention to this all call of sorts. America is open for business as long as you're not Black, as long as you don't want Black America to get what's owed to them, as long as you are cool with the status quo. You can come here and make pennies on the dollar. You just can't try to take over. You can't try to defeat the dominant society. You can't try to be special unless they've given you the opportunity to do so. If you can follow those rules, then you can come over here and benefit at the behest and on the backs of the foundation, of course. But because we've been saying that these people are illegal, Kamala and et al., they want us to say, fine, they're legal now. Now what's your argument? I like Senator Lindsey Graham's act to end birthright citizenship. I don't think that you should be able to be a citizen just because you were born here. I think that we need to make it very plain that there are no more anchors. The port is closed. And it has to be a self-inflicted wound. Like, they did it to themselves. How do you take advantage of a situation like this unless you are coming here to cause harm? I don't know.
Those who did not want to be caught could simply walk in. We have no idea who and what entered our country over this time. Throughout 2022 and 23, I sent agents to Texas and Arizona to count gotaways. Those sectors could not even put enough agents in the field to see what they'd missed. Simultaneously, in San Diego, we had an exponential increase in significant interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. Prior to this administration, the San Diego sector averaged 10 to 15 SIA arrests per year. Once word was out the border was far easier to cross, San Diego went to over 100 SIAs in 2022, well over that in 2023, and even more than that registered this year. These are only the ones we caught. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public there was no threat at the border. Fentanyl is another issue. The San Diego area sees between 80 and 90% of the methamphetamine and fentanyl seizures annually for our entire country. With little enforcement at the border, these drugs were coming through in mass. During my last year in San Diego, the price for a single pill of fentanyl, for example, went from $10 to 25 cents. To make matters worse, during 2022 and 23, I had to shut down San Diego traffic checkpoints, which are critical for drug interdiction, because the resources had been diverted to the process and release mission. The large numbers also had and still have a negative impact on the San Diego community. I
don't want to belabor the point. He already said the most impactful thing. They don't know who is here and how many, as much as they can ballpark it. And I don't like the ballpark figures, because when we start looking at 1 million, 10 million, when we're looking at so many people, how are we supposed to expect that these are all the good ones. I'm not a Trumper, but I feel the Donald when he says things like, they're hoodlums and gangsters and disease spreaders when they don't have to have the same hygiene protocols. They are not forced to take any experimental medicines to keep them, quote, quote, safe from people. They don't have the same requirements. They don't even have to have credit to come over here and get ahead. You have to be born with perfect credit, and then you have to establish credit. So I don't understand. Yellow Indians, red Indians. First letter rhyme flow, what's going on? Haven't seen you in the chat in a while. I want you to please listen to Dr. Winters when you can on like a Thursday. I think the learning would help you a lot. And I played FBB Liberation as the intro music tonight because Blacks in Britain, I think they should get their recognition as much as any melanated people who've been standing up for their rights. But yeah, Yellow Indians, that's going to be the Mongoloid. Mongoloid type Indians. Red Indians are going to be more of the admixture of the continental Africans. But I'm not a historian. I'm also not an anthropologist or anything like that. I just, I get it. The people who are civilized in these tribes, those not necessarily my people as much as they might have sold my people. And if they got to keep their name and I didn't, that's not cool. So, and then brown, there's all sorts of shades of brown. You got to know that. You got light, bright yellows, and you got red, brown people, and blue, black. It's all sorts of colors in the rainbow. Anywho, Kamala's America is literally going to look like today. Are you ready for January 6th? Because in a few months, it's either going to be the Donald or the dummy. And we've had the dummy in office for the past 4 years. And for what it's worth, to me, in my humble opinion, if Joe Biden really was cool with the secession order, then he would say, Kamala, I see you have an optics issue with the blacks. What can I do to help you out? And all of this reparations talk, well, Trump's not going to give you reparations. Kamala would be talking about it right now. Even if she didn't mean it, she would be bold enough. She would be blunt. But she's not like us, so she doesn't know how to be blunt. She knows how to cosplay. And y'all have seen it. You've seen the Divine Nine version of Kamala. You've seen the Southern accent version of Kamala. You've seen the red dot curried version of Kamala. You've seen the weed smoking version of Kamala. And most recently, you've seen the Hispanic version of Kamala. So, Kamala the chameleon, 20 million immigrants later, I guess everybody's supposed to look the same because then you won't know who's fucking you out of your shit. I'm sorry. That's my last cuss word for tonight. I'm sorry. Were you uncomfortable? This wasn't too bad, right? It's more of the same. I think that this election season, we really have to pay attention to the data and then use it. If the data says that less than 50% of America who can vote, then that sounds like you need to go your own way. It sounds like we're gearing up for a new Black Wall Street. But if your square is not secure, your foundation is not strong, it's probably going to collapse. Yes, the entire world imitates us. They love us. They hate us. They don't like the fact that we're still here. And they love that we're an example that they can use. I don't know if that's poetic justice or not, but at the end of the day, we're still going to be here. But at what cost? I don't want our children, I don't want our minis to be fighting this fight, you guys. And I really mean that. On Fridays, protect the minis from predators. Kamala, predator. Luke, predator, these illegals who get away with breaking the rules, predators. But if you can look my black child in their face and say that DACA means more than them or a Palestinian child means more than them, then I will tell my child that you are an enemy. And it doesn't matter that they got the same color, and it doesn't matter that we share the same lineage. Enemy. If you liked what I said tonight, hit the likes. If you were uncomfortable, make sure you share the conversation, because we only get better when we're comfortable getting uncomfortable. Until next time, y'all have a good night.